Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Got the question, how to get out of a toxic relationship. First, you have to identify what is a toxic relationship. And you can use some of the cliche measures like, do you cry more than you smile? Do you laugh more than you argue, or argue more than you laugh? Those things do actually apply. So you kind of have to ask yourself, in summing it all up, does this relationship make me better, or is it making me worse? So are you sad and depressed, or filled with anxiety, or unhealthy anxiety and nervousness? Like, what do you feel most often on when you look through your days, Monday all the way up through Sunday? How do you have more toxic days than positive days? And if the answer is yes, that you're having toxic days and you feel that most often, and almost every day or every other day you are in preparation for the next disagreement, the next argument with your partner, you are in a toxic relationship. Now, please understand that a toxic relationship is not synonymous with an abusive relationship. You can be in a toxic relationship and it not be technically abusive. So just fussing and arguing every day is toxic. Not being able to feel like you can be yourself, show your real personality, dress how you want to dress, that can be deemed as toxic. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that is verbal abuse or physical abuse or emotional abuse. It could simply mean that you are with someone that you should not be with because y'all are not a match. Your differences and their differences don't equal strengths. Instead, your differences and their differences create too much opposition, which then turns into these toxic emotions. So really identify the difference, because a lot of people are in toxic relationships, but because they aren't being slapped, because they aren't being ripped apart with words, they say, oh well, it's not that bad. This can't be toxic because I'm not being physically abused, so this isn't really toxic. This is normal. So that's not true. So I can say, being married, having been married 12 years, almost 13, my day to day, it feels good. I feel excited for the next conversation with my wife. That's the God's heaven truth. I couldn't tell you a lie. If I was lying, my eyes would be batting all crazy. I have to stop and pause and cut the video. I look forward to the next conversation. Every week, I'm looking forward to trying to find the time to date my wife. And even if we can't go on a date, I'm like, hey, let's just go through a drive-through somewhere. So we go through the drive-through and we'll get something to eat, and it's not always the healthiest thing, but then we back into a parking spot and we sit there and we eat this little snack and we talk, and that may be 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and then we come on home. But we will do that because we just desire that time together. And this is a real example from a real relationship. So don't think I'm just this talking head talking about something I don't know anything about. And before my wife, I was in several toxic relationships. But this is what you have to realize. You have to ask yourself, do I feel in danger? Am I in danger? Like, is my life in danger? If the answer is yes, then you have to leave immediately. And whatever those circumstances may mean, sleeping on somebody's couch, catching the bus, if it's that severe. If it's not that severe, which in most cases, 90% of the time, it's not that severe, then you have time to game plan. So what I mean by this is, you have time to create an exit strategy. Write that down, exit strategy. So you got to get your ducks in a row. So that may mean getting a job if you don't have a job. If you can't get a job working online, doing something online, being a virtual assistant, or some type of at-home job, a call rep for one of the credit card companies, to where you're calling people because you're at home with a baby or babies or children. So find a way to get some income. If there's absolutely no way for you to get some income, which there's always a way, then start to create allies, meaning you may be a private person, but now you need to create allies. So you need to express your situation to your best friend, to your mother or father or pastor, whoever it may be, but create some allies. And if that's just one person, okay, cool. And the reason to do that is that person may be in a position where they say, look, I can help you. I can add you to my credit card as an authorized user. That'll boost your credit score. Then, you can go, we can get you in this apartment. I can loan you first and last month's rent so you can leave this situation, or something else. I say, hey, here's 500, here's 1,000. I got off my credit card. But create allies. And so now you say, okay, I'm putting up some money. If you already have it, then great. Now you have to think about and go through every step. So where am I going to move to if you live together? If you don't live together, then that makes the situation a whole lot easier. So now it comes to going through the process of telling your partner why you are not happy and why the relationship needs to come to an end. Now at this time, this is a point where you've tried 1, 2, 3, 4 times to make it work and it's still not working. You've even read my book, Make It Work, and it's still not working. And so now it's time to have that conversation. So what you have to do is almost like putting yourself through school, like you're studying for a test. You know your partner. So you come up with the words that you can tell your partner to let him or her know that this relationship has run its course and now we are at the end. And I know, or I think we need to go our separate ways. And so then, knowing your partner, write down in your little journal. You need to have a lock or have it put up somewhere where no one sees it or can get to it. But write down every possible response. There may be up to 10 different responses that your partner may have for you, 10 different reactions. So write down the verbal responses and how you will respond to each one of those. Write down the physical or the nonverbal responses and how you will respond to each one of those. So that way you are prepared to have a response for whatever rebuttal you may receive from your partner. And then from there, you have made it known. Now, after that, you have to cut off communication. So you make your move, you leave if you live together, you stop calling or you stop answering if you don't live together, but you have to cut off communication. And the question comes up, well, what do we do if we have kids together, if we have business together, if we have a pet together, a home together? What do we do? That's a whole bunch of other videos, but just for the sake of this video, to give you this nugget, you reduce all communication down to the things you absolutely have to discuss. So what I mean by that is when you get on these phone calls, you are not talking about anything outside of the business at hand. If that's your children, if that's your business you have with this person, if that's the dog or the cat, if that's the house that's being put up for sale, you only discuss business. The relationship becomes a business relationship, a business interaction, a business transaction, so to speak. Except for with the kids, of course, you got to share the notes from the teacher or get the notes about the child and how your child is doing, all of those things. And then from there, the next step is to begin the healing process. So what you have to do in this process is you have to set new standards, because your relationship turned toxic because you didn't have clear-cut standards for your life and what you want in a partner, in a lover. So you will have to unlearn, set new standards, and then relearn. And that's when you go through the process of watching every video on my channel, every book you can get your hands on, all the online courses on TonyGaskinsAcademy.com. I have the link in the description. You will see a love and relationships bundle. And then outside of that bundle, you'll see a couple other courses. Consume all of the content from myself and other teachers, coaches, counselors, and get new knowledge. What this new knowledge does is it reinforces your standards. So the new standards that you have set for yourself, now you have reinforcement. And then you also know from examples like myself and people that you know personally who have happy and healthy marriages, you know that it's possible. You know that you don't have to compromise your beliefs, your values, your morals again, just to have love or someone in your life. You can set new standards. You can get new knowledge. You can leave that situation, leave that toxic relationship. You can cut all communication and reduce it down to things that absolutely have to be talked about. And then the only option you have of reconciliation with your partner is if they meet the stipulations that you put in place to come back into your life, which that may mean signing up for coaching, signing up for or counseling, reading this book, that book, these books together. You have some things that if you say, you know, it is toxic, but we are growing, we are learning, I want to give another chance, you have to have some stipulations in place that your partner has to do, no ifs, ands, and buts about it, in order to be able to come back in your life and get any of your attention. And if they're not trying to, then that lets you know, if they're not trying to get you back, that lets you know you made the right decision. If they're trying to get you back, then you have to implement the work. Let them know what work needs to be done, what work you're doing and what work they need to do. If they refuse to do the work, or they fake it, or they go through the motions and you don't feel like it's real, keep your track shoes on and keep running. If they do the work, then that is when you start to take some time, and I'll do other videos on that as well, to where how you re-enter a situation that you're giving a second chance. Hopefully it's only a second chance and not a sixth or seventh chance. But it is Tony Gaskins. That is how you leave a toxic relationship. Create your plan of action, have the conversation, have all of your responses for all of their rebuttals, move if you need to move, or cut all communication if you don't live together. Then begin the healing process of setting new standards and getting new knowledge. And that will reinforce your decision, reinforce your standards, and that will give you the strength to move on completely with your life. Hey, this is Tony Gaskins, your virtual coach. We'll talk soon.